Another question I was a bit interested in to ask people, we've talked a lot about China, we've talked a lot about foreign investment. I argue there's a difference between foreign investment and foreign ownership. We put that one out there on Facebook as well. Let's have a look at what people had to say. Ron Bailey says, yes, we definitely need to review our foreign investment laws. Australia needs foreign investment, but a lot more needs to be done to find out where the money is coming from. Couldn't agree more. Wilma Hurd wrote, I acknowledge that we do need foreign investment, but definitely no foreign ownership, particularly of our infrastructure and farms or land. Anne Clark says, do we have some? It appears to be free for all, except for Australians. Charmaine Brillanti writes, yes, there's a big difference between foreign investment and foreign ownership. The government should not be selling off our country and its sovereignty to foreign interests. And Guy Devenish says, government shouldn't allow foreign investment to buy key assets such as ports, rails, airports, water, power, water infrastructure, and so on. Well, Jane, of course they do. And this is going to be a big debating point in this country coming out of the crisis.
It absolutely is. And you look at the Port of Darwin, I think that's 99-year lease. So for all intents and purposes, I think that's right. For all intents and purposes, that feels like ownership too. We're going to look at supply chain. We're going to look, and I've been watching you this week talking about the manufacturing of things like PPE in this country. A lot of Australians want Australia to be more self-reliant, not completely self-reliant, but there are lots of questions that everyday Aussies have been asking for a very, very long time, including the lease of the Port of Darwin and foreign investment in farms, although you talk to some farmers who are very happy to sell their farms to the highest bidder. I understand that too, but I very much welcome the fact that the Foreign Investment Review Board is looking at everything on a case-by-case basis. It was interesting listening to the Treasurer when he was interviewed about this, and he was saying that as far as capital investment in Australia goes, the largest amount comes from the United States. Well, I'm not sure that Australians are too worried about the amount of money that's invested. It's the assets that are bought, and that's where people are really alarmed at the Chinese. And people had been raising this for years, Peter, on Talkback Radio, on Facebook, on programs like yours, and of course the political class wasn't listening to them. But for people like Andrew Hastie, I have to say, and it was all written down and written off as xenophobic. Well, it's not xenophobic, and we are going to have to change the way we look at things. I'm glad the Treasurer is saying on a case-by-case basis, and we need a lot of transparency. The Australian public is alive to this.
Look, the easiest test is, can someone from a particular country buy in Australia the same type of asset that we can buy in their country? In Britain, we can buy things that Britain can buy in Australia, but I tell you what, there's not a lot we can buy in China that China can buy in Australia. So that's where I would start as a starting premise on the whole rules in relation to the Foreign Investment Review Board. I've got to ask you about politicians. It's another issue, the politician pay and pay cuts. We've seen Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand. It's another issue that has not gone away. The government says, we're not going to touch this. State and federal politicians have been pushed. Will they accept a pay cut in the middle of this economic crisis? They've pushed it aside, but the public are not buying that. Now, Daniel Andrews last year had an 11% increase in his salary, $46,000. I'm looking at my notes, $46,000, I'm right. Well, come the 1st of July, all Victorian politicians, Andrews again as well, 4.8% taxpayer-funded increase right at the time when so many are losing their jobs.
Oh, look, I don't think politicians understand how people are really, really hurting. A lot can't get job seeker or JobKeeper for myriad reasons. There are a lot of people who are really hurting. Politicians should be taking a 20% pay cut. Yes, I know you're all working harder. So are the rest of us for less. And senior public servants need to go into that category too, Peter. This is a slow burn issue, and if politicians don't get out in front of it, it will come back to hurt them in the future.